Matt Mosley hosts the Doomsday Podcast, columnist for Fox Sports. Of course, he's done his own radio show as well, covering, among other things, the Dallas Cowboys. And, Matt, we didn't see much movement from the Cowboys all offseason. Now this, what's your reaction?
This is what Doug has been hinting at for a while. We thought he was just talking, trying to drum up a little draft interest. But he was trying to make something happen. And a lot of times when people start doing all the goofiness of trying to break news and people that don't normally break news, this is just talk. But then last night, it started heating up. And so I just find it funny that, I think it's a good deal for the Cowboys. Actually, both teams probably works out because I think Tomlin was probably sick of Pickens and the way he acted on the field, especially. And the last memory I have of him is like playing against the Cowboys and fighting Jordan Lewis on the field. And but this team is known for having wide receivers like George Pickens, who will either get in fights on the field or on the sideline or constantly chirping. And so they're at least sort of used to this. Now, it's brilliant if he truly will take the opinion of coming in here and like playing for his next contract and sort of using this. But now if they're expected to put some kind of great deal together for him, if he's expecting something like that, he and his agent, then they come to the wrong place because the Cowboys love to make people wait until the last second. They don't get things done. They're not proactive on contracts. So if he's got that sort of attitude, but if he's got the attitude of like this is a prove-it type season, then I think both sides have come to a good place.
You nailed it, right? It's the Steelers are all about culture. He didn't fit their culture. The Cowboys try to be all about players, and he's a player who can make plays. Now the question is, can they make it work? Question is, can they make it work? What is the true outlook for this Cowboys team now they've added George Pickens?
Well, they still, have some question marks at running back, which has become an annual thing. Maybe they can find an aging back they can bring in. They love that. They love to get about a 30-year-old guy who's broken down and get him back there and see what he can do. But they actually have some decent veterans. And then that Jaden Blue that they got from Texas, obviously I've seen him play a lot because of where I'm from. And he is dynamic, good pass catcher, great speed, all of that. So who knows? He may emerge as kind of the next Tony Pollard, so to speak, who was pretty good for them for a brief amount of time. I think it's really going to come down to how this O-line shakes out. And we got everybody, talking about like they've assembled the line, like they've gone back to the days of Nate Newton and that bunch, and Larry Allen. I think that's we're a little early to that party. But I would say that, if that Tyler Guyton from OU by way of TCU, if he can actually play and play left tackle, then they may assemble, because this new guy from Alabama means business. But Tyler Booker, Tyler Smith's a really good player. So, they could have the makings of a pretty good offensive line. So I think I would say I have changed their trajectory to, and again, they now have the Super Bowl champs and another great team. So they've gone from sort of being back and forth with the Eagles on an annual basis to now having two teams in the division, that are really good. So I think everybody would think they're probably the third team heading in. So probably the ceiling for this thing would be 10 wins. I think if everything goes right, this is about a 10-7 team, and we'll see if that makes the playoffs.
Has that ever been a Jerry Jones team that people actually thought 10-7 is a good thing?
Well, no. But I think based on last season and how disappointing and how some of I think it would come across as like a real bounce back, and I think it would be a great place for the Schottenheimer era to begin. And you can't imagine the feel-good story this is around here. It's like everybody at first was real mad and like, what in the world? What is this hire? But I've actually been out there, spent time around him, these rookies, and like in the building, and like it's a whole different sort of approach. Now I compare
because
it
he changed their chairs. That's what he did. He had them change
No, you're being
chairs.
sarcastic, and I understand that's
I,
what you do. And yeah.
You
Go ahead.
you didn't if okay. Let me just ask you this. Matt Mosley is our guest here. Doomsday Podcast covering the Dallas Cowboys. This is the Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Let me just ask you right now. Okay, so let's say who's the why am I forgetting? Who's the coach of the Commanders? He's doing a really good job. I know Cliff does the offense. It's he used to be with the Cowboys,
yeah,
right?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Former Cowboys
okay,
great.
so had Dan Quinn gone into the Commanders last year and said, "Hey, everybody get up and change your seat," you would have spent a good portion of your show going, "What are we doing here?" Right? Like, what are we doing here? But because it's the Cowboys, you're like, "Oh yeah, it's a breath of fresh air." Everybody just changed their seats.
I mean, that's not really what I'm basing it on. Would I have written on the old Mosley blog, which I think ESPN still misses greatly? Could I have done 5,000 words on that very thing? Him changing some lockers around? You bet I could have done that. But I'm comparing this more than that. It's like Parcells left. Of course, McCarthy, you can't compare him to Parcells, but I do remember when Wade came in. And there was sort of a breath of fresh air, and the way the team and the players were treated and all, I do see sort of a difference. And by the way, unbeknownst to a lot of people, there's people in that building that were really sick of Mike McCarthy. And Jerry is not one of them. I think Jerry wanted to keep him. And he couldn't. He tried to get him on some kind of weird short-term deal, and McCarthy said, "No, I'd rather go back to the analytics barn and hold up with my guys." So this, but Schottenheimer, boy, there's something. Again, he may fall on his face.
Yep.
But I'm just telling you, Doug, all you'd have to do is just come onto campus, come onto the Star, spend a little time around with him. And then you'd have a little different outlook, and you wouldn't be making fun of him for changing lockers. But putting Micah over next to Dak, Doug, let's see what that does. I think it could really get things moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we shall see. Matt Mosley is our guest here on the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. What about Dak? Right, coming off of another injury this year, but does have a new contract. How does this change how he has to play, giving him another talented wide receiver, but a guy who thinks he's open every single play?
Well, he's going to have to take command, and I mean, he and CD are really good friends and close, but they certainly have had their issues, like on the sideline during games. I think CD's family likes to get involved on social media. Now they've involved somebody else, Pickens, who's not exactly going to come in there hat in hand, like, well, show me where the number 2 wide receiver lines up. But I think Dak is the unquestioned leader. I do think there's a feeling around this team that, especially losing Zach Martin, who was kind of a grimy, tough guy, and Tyler Smith, by the way, is very tough, in your face, kind of, he's fairly quiet, but he's a really good leader. But I think they thought they needed some more dogs, so to speak, more guys that would come in and be ready to fight a little bit. And I think they probably have that in Pickens. Now, could it turn ugly? And does the guy love to get in fights and get fined and do stuff on the field? Does he like to take a few plays off? You bet he does. But I don't know. This has gone from the most unexciting CeeDee Lamb and the Pips. I mean, think about who they're going to have. Jalen Tolbert and Jonathan Mingo. I mean, that was going to be your second and third receiver. And on paper, at least, Lamb and Pickens become one of the more exciting duos around. I mean, the Eagles, yeah, they got two really good ones, but the Cowboys at least are in the conversation now. I mean, the Giants have one, and now the Cowboys have two. So anyway, I think Dak will be fine. The thing is, can he hold up? I mean, this guy makes $60 million a year. And he just gets injured so much now that Jerry did not want to do this deal. And because Jerry is never proactive, like I said earlier, and he waits, he got forced into doing just a horrible deal. And listen, these deals never work out, right? I mean, like, this $60 million a year deal is going to look horrific by the time it's over. The Zeke deal, when Zeke held out, but see, guys know they can break Jerry. I mean, if you're Parsons, don't even get near training camp. You don't even get near the field. I mean, why in the world wouldn't you hold out and then become the highest paid pass rusher in the history of the game? I mean, that's how everybody plays Jerry. So anyway, he's lost his fastball when it comes to negotiating. Still great in the oil and gas industry, but when it comes to negotiating with players, it's a struggle.
That's the voice of Matt Mosley, who you can hear on the Doomsday podcast, covering, among other things, and mostly the Dallas Cowboys. Mose, you're the best, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks. We lost all our players in the portal, so if you can send anybody our way, we'd appreciate it.
Oklahoma State got my best player, so I'm fresh out of guys at that level. Appreciate it.
Well, that seems uncool. All right, I'll see you.
All right, Matt Mosley joining us. Byron, did you read that story where the big move is for Brian Schottenheimer is he made everybody get up and change chairs. Couldn't sit in the same seat as last year. Everything's different this year.
Yeah, was it Micah, Parsons, and Dak are next to each other?
Well, their lockers are next to each other, yes. So
get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's not real. Never mind. Just let Coach go with it, right? Does any of that stuff, do people think that stuff wins games? Listen, I'll do it. I'll try it if you'd like. Okay, I'll come into my locker room. We have a brand new locker room this year and go, hey, no. I want you to go over there. Yeah, everybody switch. We're going to play the music, and when the music stops, and one guy might not have a locker.
I was going to say, how many guys do you got coming back to switch?
Yeah. Well, I get 6.
Okay, all right.
6 coming back. 6 coming back.
So those 6 are on notice to change their seats.
Change your seats. Do you like the Pickens deal? Because I'll give you my thoughts. I want yours.
I think that I do like Pickens as a wide receiver. I think a lot of people do. It's all the extra stuff, but why not? I don't know. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, and it's funny because you were talking with Matt Mosley about Dan Quinn, and we knew that Kellen Moore was previously there. Dan Quinn could be the head coach of the Cowboys. Kellen Moore could be the head coach of the Cowboys. Instead, they had Mike McCarthy stuck with him, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that decision. I'm not sure how many people are on board with Brian Schottenheimer. I think people feel that they were settling in that point. I thought Schottenheimer was great for the Seahawks when he was there as their offensive coordinator. So I'm in a wait and see approach. But now that division over the last 12 months has now got the defending Super Bowl champions and a team that people are absolutely in love with and feel that they have a star quarterback for the next 15 years. And it just feels like they missed their window in a division where I know that window always rotates. But now you got to figure out a way to try to compete with Philadelphia and Washington. Scoring more points and scoring a lot of points is a way to do it. Mosley ran down their weapons, their wide receivers. Dak's going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to protect them. But I just feel that they missed their window. And so now it's like, all right, let's just see if we can put 40 burgers on people and win football games. So for that aspect, I guess I like them getting George Pickens. Can't deny the talent.
Yeah.
But I feel that they missed their window.
I think the missing the window is a really, really good point. Really good point. And they're stuck in that. They're like a tweener house if you're ever buying houses, right? Where you walk in, you're like, well, it's been redone, but not recently. And so it looks, you have to redo it again. You're better off walking into a house that's a complete teardown than you are one that was redone 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, where the styles have passed it. That's the Cowboys. Because like you said, the Eagles, now they've won 2 Super Bowls, and they continue to replenish with young talent. The Commanders and the Giants are interesting. I don't know. I don't like what they got at quarterback, unless Jackson Dart works out, and then I love what they got at quarterback because you brought in a couple veterans, and eventually you hand it over to him. I think what the Cowboys are missing is a true plan. And right now their plan is let's just do the best of what we can. Oh, let's go add the biggest name wide receiver we can get. Forget about the fact that he's a pain in the ass. And that usually doesn't work.
It's also funny, too. I'm not a huge fan of trades right after the NFL draft.
Yep.
The Seahawks, when they did their Jamal Adams deal, like it didn't work out for them, and it just felt like they were paying it off for so long. And granted, those were first-round picks at that point.
2 of them, yep.
This is only a third-rounder and a fifth-rounder. But if Pickens fails, it's not like Pittsburgh has already used Dallas's third-round pick this past season. They're going to have to give it up the next year. And then them swapping later-round picks in 2027. You better perform this year. Better do it now.